at congruent shapes. Now, congruent is a very fancy word to say that shapes are exactly the same in every way. So if something's congruent to something else, it's almost an identical copy. Well, it is an identical copy. So what's the success criteria? Check if every side and angle are the same. If they are the same in every way, they are congruent. If they are different, they are not congruent. Even if they are the same shape. I'll give you an example of two shapes that are not congruent, but they look the same. They're both circles. They're both very smooth, but they're not congruent because this one is not exactly the same because it's a big circle and this is a small circle. There's some other terminology that we'll learn soon enough, and they're called similar, but these are actually congruent. They're not congruent because they're not exactly the same. All right, so I'm going to go to congruent shapes, exactly the same. So I'm going to draw some. So I'm going to draw this one. I'll do an exactly the same one as this one by copying and then pasting it. That is congruent, okay? I'll show you one that isn't congruent. So if I grab this one again and I'll copy it and paste it, and if I change it, there we go. This one is not congruent, all right, because it's different. I've resized it, I've made it smaller. Whilst this one is exactly the same as that. It's like it comes out of the same factory, it's printed out. So congruent shapes are exactly the same. So make sure you write this down and draw two shapes of your own that are exactly the same. Now I'm going to get more fancy and show you another group of shapes that are exactly the same. So bear with me because this is going to be some of my best work. So see this shape here? I'm going to show you a congruent shape of that. If I go copy and I paste it, that's congruent to that. All right? Isn't that amazing? It even took some of the highlighter with it, which is really good. I'm going to take it off. So what happens is that shape, as awful as it looks really awful, by the way, they're exactly the same. So that means they're congruent. And there's a symbol that we use for that. Say I define this as A and this is B. To say that they're congruent, we've got a higher order of equals. So that means that A is congruent to B. And we use these three lines to explain that. So it's like an equal sign, but one more. So that's why it's a higher order. Okay, look at the following shapes. See if they're congruent. If we call this A and B and C, I can see that A is congruent to B because it has everything exactly the same. It has this line, which is exactly the same as that, has this circle, which is exactly the same as that circle, so that means they're exactly the same. And C, as long as it has a bit of a circle, but then it's got this sharp pointy thing, and that's different, so it's not congruent. All right, I want you to look at these next ones and tell me which two are congruent. I'm going to call this one A, B, C, and use your new way of writing things out, all right, and tell me which one's congruent to which one. Pause the video. All right, hopefully you know that it was A that's congruent to C, not B, okay? Because even though it looks very similar, it is not the same. It's too small, very different. Okay, so now it's up to you. Draw two congruent shapes and one different one. Make sure that this is in your books because the teachers will be looking out for it. Okay, once you've done that, you can finish the video because I'm getting out of here. Peace out.